Doctor visits father's grave and sees a child crying with flowers. What happened next? Dr. Jennifer Wilson was prepared for another difficult day when she parked her car at the entrance of Greenwood Cemetery in the Greenwich Village neighborhood of New York City. For 3 years in a row, she had come there on the same date, always alone, always with the same bouquet of white lilies that her father had loved so much. But as she approached the grave of Dr. Thomas Wilson, she saw something that made her stop abruptly. A blond boy of about 6 was kneeling in front of the headstone, sobbing quietly while holding a small bouquet of colorful flowers. Tears streamed down his pale little face as he whispered words Jennifer couldn't understand. "Hi, sweetheart," she said softly, crouching beside the child. "Are you okay?" The boy lifted his tear-reddened eyes and stared at her with an expression of surprise and recognition that left Jennifer unsettled. "Are you Dr. Jennifer?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Dr. Thomas's daughter?" Jennifer's heart raced. How did this child know who she was? How did he know her father? "How do you know my name?" she asked, trying to stay calm. "And what are you doing here alone?" "My Grandma Margaret always talks about you," the boy replied, wiping his nose with the sleeve of his dark shirt. "She says you're very important and that you take care of sick people just like your dad did." Jennifer felt a tightness in her chest. Margaret. That name meant nothing to her, but clearly there was a connection she didn't know about. "Where is your grandma now?" she asked, looking around to see if any adults were nearby. "She can't walk well anymore," the boy explained, trying to control his tears. "That's why I come alone to bring flowers for Dr. Thomas. Grandma Margaret said he was very good and saved a lot of people." The child's words left Jennifer even more confused. Who was this woman who knew her father so well? And why would she send a child alone to the cemetery? "What's your name, sweetheart?" she asked, gently touching the boy's shoulder. "Ethan," he replied, wiping more tears away. "Ethan Parker. Grandma Margaret always says I have to come here to thank Dr. Thomas because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here." Jennifer tried to process that information. Her father had retired 5 years before passing, and she knew his last patients well, but she had never heard of an Ethan Parker or his grandmother Margaret. "Ethan, is your grandma waiting for you at home?" she asked, worried the child was alone. "She's very sick," the boy said, deep sadness in his eyes. "She hasn't been able to get out of bed for weeks. I take care of her as best I can, but—" He hesitated, as if unsure whether to continue. "But what, sweetheart?" "She said she needs to talk to you, that she has something very important to tell you before it's too late." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Jennifer felt a chill in her stomach. There was something urgent in the boy's words that alarmed her. She looked at her father's grave, then at Ethan, who watched her with hopeful eyes. "Can you take me to your grandma?" she asked, surprising herself with her own decision. Ethan's eyes lit up for the first time since she had found him. "You're really going to talk to Grandma Margaret?" he asked, disbelieving. "She'll be so happy. She always said you were too busy and important to worry about people like us." "Of course I will," Jennifer said, standing and offering her hand to the boy. "Let me place these flowers on the grave, and then we'll go see your grandma." As she arranged the white lilies alongside the colorful flowers Ethan had brought, Jennifer noticed a small metal plaque near the headstone that she had never seen before. It was half hidden by the tall grass, but she managed to read, "Thank you for everything, Doctor. Forever grateful, MP. MP Margaret Parker." That woman had truly known her father, and well enough to leave a permanent tribute at his grave. "Ethan, how long has your grandmother known my father?" she asked as they walked down the cemetery path. "Forever," the boy replied, holding her hand tightly. "She worked with him at the hospital for many years, said he was the kindest doctor she ever knew." Jennifer stopped walking. Her father had worked at Mercy General Hospital for over 30 years, but she knew practically all the long-time staff. How could a nurse named Margaret Parker have gone unnoticed? "Your grandmother was a nurse?" she asked. "She was," Ethan said proudly. "She took care of the toughest patients, the ones no one else wanted. Dr. Thomas always said she had a heart of gold." The boy's words struck Jennifer deeply. Her father really did speak that way about people he admired. But why had she never met this Margaret? They left the cemetery, and Ethan led her through the neighborhood streets. Jennifer was surprised when he took her to a simpler area, with small, modest houses. They stopped in front of a single-story home with peeling paint and a poorly tended little garden. "This is it," Ethan said, opening a rusty gate. "Grandma's going to be so happy to see you." Jennifer's heart ached at the humble conditions Ethan and his grandmother lived in. The contrast with her own comfortable life made her reflect on how many stories like this existed without her knowing. "Grandma Margaret," Ethan shouted as soon as they entered the house. "I brought a special visitor." The house was small but clean, with old but well-kept furniture. Jennifer noticed several framed photos scattered around the living room, but couldn't make out the details from a distance. "Ethan," came a weak voice from what seemed to be the bedroom. "Who did you bring, sweetheart?" "Dr. Jennifer," Ethan replied, running to the bedroom. "Dr. Thomas's daughter." Jennifer heard a deep sigh from the bedroom, followed by hurried movements. "Dr. Jennifer?" the voice said, now stronger. "Ethan, are you sure?" "Yes, Grandma. She was at the cemetery, just like you said would happen one day." Jennifer approached the bedroom door and saw a woman around 70 years old struggling to get out of bed. Her grey hair was tied in a simple bun, and despite her apparent frailty, her brown eyes shone with a lively intelligence. "Mrs. Margaret," Jennifer said, stepping into the room, "please don't get up. Ethan told me you've been ill." Margaret looked at her as if seeing a ghost. Her hands trembled slightly as she pointed to a chair beside the bed. "Sit, please," she said, her voice thick with emotion. I never thought this day would really come." "Ethan said you knew my father at the hospital," Jennifer said, settling into the chair. "But I don't remember ever hearing your name before." Margaret exchanged a meaningful glance with Ethan, who had perched on the edge of the bed. "Ethan, sweetheart, can you go play in the backyard for a little while? Grandma needs to talk to the doctor about grown-up things." "But Grandma—" "Go on, my angel. You can come back later, okay?" Ethan left reluctantly but obediently. Once they were alone, Margaret took a deep breath and looked straight into Jennifer's eyes. "Doctor, what I'm about to tell you will change your life forever," she said solemnly. "Your father made me promise to keep this secret until the right moment came. I think that moment is now." Jennifer felt her heart race. There was something in Margaret's expression that left her deeply uneasy. "What secret?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Margaret reached a trembling hand toward the nightstand drawer and pulled out a small shoebox, yellowed with age. "Your father was more than just my boss at the hospital," she said, carefully opening the box. "He saved my life when I needed it most. And then he entrusted me with the most precious thing he had." "I don't understand," said Jennifer, watching as Margaret pulled out some papers and photographs from the box. "Ethan isn't my biological grandson," Margaret revealed, handing an old photo to Jennifer. "He's your sister Melissa's son." Jennifer's world crumbled in that moment. The photo in her hands showed her younger sister Melissa holding a baby in her arms, standing beside their father and Margaret, all dressed in hospital uniforms. "This can't be," Jennifer whispered, her voice hoarse. "Melissa moved to Los Angeles 7 years ago. She never had children." "Your sister had Ethan when she was only 19, Margaret explained gently. "She was desperate, afraid of disappointing you all. Your father brought her to me because he knew I'd take good care of the child." Jennifer looked at the photo again, studying every detail. Her sister looked so young and scared, but there was tenderness in her eyes as she gazed at the baby. "Where is Melissa now?" she asked, still trying to process the information. "We don't know," Margaret admitted sadly. "After Ethan was born, she stayed with me for a few months, helping with his care. But the postpartum depression was too much. One morning, she just wasn't here anymore. She left only a letter saying she couldn't be a mother and that she trusted me to raise him." Jennifer felt tears burning in her eyes. All these years, she'd believed Melissa was living her life in Los Angeles, when in reality, Her sister had gone through the hardest experience of her life alone. "Why did my father never tell me?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Because he respected Melissa's decision," Margaret explained. "She made him promise not to say anything until she was ready to embrace motherhood. Your father visited Ethan regularly, always in secret. He set aside money for the boy's education and always said that one day you'd learn the truth." Jennifer looked out the bedroom window and saw Ethan playing alone in the small backyard, tossing a ball against the wall. Suddenly, so many things made sense. The boy's intelligence, his expressive eyes, the way he spoke of her father with such affection. "Does Ethan know?" she asked. "He knows I'm not his biological grandmother, but he doesn't know the details," Margaret said. "I always told him his mother had to travel for work and that she'd come back when she could. He never asked too many questions, maybe out of fear of the answer." "And my father, did he really take care of Ethan?" "He came here at least once a week," Margaret confirmed with a nostalgic smile. "Brought gifts, helped with homework, told stories. Ethan loved those visits, but your father always asked him not to tell anyone, said it was a special secret between them." Jennifer remembered the times her father would leave on Sunday afternoons without detailed explanations. He always said he was visiting a special patient or handling some business. Now it all made sense. "Why are you telling me this now?" Jennifer asked. Margaret hesitated, looking down at her hands. "Because I'm sick, Doctor, very sick, and Ethan needs a real family. He's a special boy, smart, loving. He deserves the opportunities only you can give him." "What kind of illness?" asked Jennifer, automatically switching to doctor mode. "Pancreatic cancer," Margaret said simply. "It's already quite advanced. The doctors say I have only a few months left." The silence weighed heavily in the room. Jennifer looked again at Ethan in the backyard and felt a mix of instant love and overwhelming responsibility. "Does Ethan know about your illness?" "He notices I'm weak, but he doesn't know the details," said Margaret. "He's a very sensitive child. He's already endured too much loss in his life." "What losses?" Margaret took a deep breath before continuing. "Shortly after Melissa left, Ethan developed some health issues. Nothing serious, but he needed constant medical care. His father was the one who handled everything, always discreetly. When his father passed, Ethan was deeply shaken. He truly loved Grandpa Thomas, as he called his dad." Jennifer felt her heart tighten. Her nephew had lost the father figure he loved most, and she hadn't even known he existed. "What do you expect from me?" she asked, trying to gather her thoughts. "That you be the aunt Ethan deserves," Margaret said firmly. "That you help him find Melissa, if possible. And if she can't or won't come back, that you make sure he has a dignified life full of love." I need time to process all this," Jennifer said honestly. "Of course you do," Margaret agreed. "But please, don't abandon Ethan. He's already lost too many people. And you're the only family he has now, besides a mother whose whereabouts are unknown." Just then, Ethan appeared at the bedroom door, still holding the ball with a curious expression. "Can I come in now?" he asked politely. "Of course, sweetheart," Margaret said, opening her arms to him. Ethan ran into his grandmother's embrace, then looked at Jennifer with a shy smile. "Are you staying for lunch?" he asked hopefully. "Grandma Margaret makes the best pasta in the world." Jennifer looked at his expectant little face and felt her heart melt. There was so much of her family in those delicate features, so much of Melissa in the expression of his eyes. "If you'll have me, I'd love to stay," she said, smiling for the first time since she'd arrived. The smile that lit up Ethan's face was like a ray of sunshine breaking through the clouds. Jennifer realized that no matter how this situation would resolve itself, her life had changed forever that morning. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. During lunch, Jennifer watched Ethan's every movement, every expression, every word. It was striking how much he resembled Melissa at that age, the same curiosity about everything, the same knack for asking smart questions, and the same sensitivity to notice when adults were worried. "Dr. Jennifer," Ethan said, playing with the pasta on his plate, "did you know Grandpa Thomas always talked about you?" "Talked about what?" she asked, intrigued. "That you were the smartest daughter in the world. and that you took care of people just like he did, Ethan said proudly. He always said that one day we'd really get to know each other. Jennifer exchanged a meaningful glance with Margaret. Her father had been preparing for this moment for years, planting seeds of familiarity between them. And you, Ethan? What do you want to be when you grow up? Jennifer asked. A doctor, he answered without hesitation. Like Grandpa Thomas and like you, I want to take care of sick people and make them better. That's a beautiful dream, Jennifer said, touched. But you'll have to study very hard. I do study, Ethan insisted. Grandma Margaret teaches me everything. She's really smart. And I read all the books Grandpa Thomas brought for me. What books? Margaret got up from the table and went to a bookshelf in the living room, returning with a stack of children's books and some basic medical books adapted for kids. Your father brought a new book every visit, she explained. Ethan already reads at a very advanced level for his age. Jennifer flipped through some of the books and found dedications written in her father's familiar handwriting. For my special grandson, with all my love, Grandpa Thomas. For Ethan, who will be a great doctor one day. For the smartest boy I know. My father really loved you, she told Ethan, her voice trembling. And I loved him too, the boy replied simply. He said when I grew up he'd introduce me to the whole family, but he left before that could happen. The way Ethan spoke about his father's passing was touching and mature for his age. Jennifer realized Margaret had done careful work to help him cope with the loss. After lunch, while Ethan napped on the living room couch, Jennifer and Margaret continued talking in the bedroom. Margaret showed more photos, letters Melissa had written but never sent, and documents proving Ethan was truly her sister's son. I tried to find Melissa many times over the years, Margaret confessed. I even hired a private investigator with the money your father left, but she seems to have completely disappeared. Maybe she doesn't want to be found, Jennifer suggested thoughtfully. Or maybe she's afraid, Margaret said. In the last letters she wrote, she talked a lot about shame and not deserving to be a mother. Postpartum depression can be devastating. Jennifer thought of her sister, always so vibrant and full of life. It was hard to imagine Melissa going through such a difficult time alone. I'll look for her, Jennifer decided. Melissa deserves to know Ethan is safe and that we all forgive her for whatever choices she made. And Ethan, Margaret asked hesitantly, what will happen to him if you can't find Melissa? Jennifer looked into the living room where Ethan slept peacefully on the couch, hugging a worn-out teddy bear. Ethan is my nephew, she said firmly. No matter what happens with Melissa, he'll have a place in my life, I promise that. The relief on Margaret's face was visible. Her hands stopped trembling, and she took a deeper breath. Thank you, she whispered. Your father was right about you. He said you had the same generous heart as his. In the weeks that followed, Jennifer began visiting Ethan and Margaret regularly. First, it was weekend visits, then twice a week, until she became a daily presence in their lives. Ethan adjusted quickly to his aunt's presence. It was as if a missing piece of his life had finally found its place. He naturally started calling her Aunt Jen and seemed to flourish under her attention and affection. Jennifer, in turn, discovered a capacity for love she hadn't known she possessed. Ethan awakened a protective maternal instinct in her that surprised her. She began planning the boy's future: private school, tutoring, extracurriculars, full health coverage. Aunt Jen, Ethan said one afternoon as they did homework together at Margaret's kitchen table, will you leave me when Grandma Margaret gets better? The question caught Jennifer off guard. Ethan was worried she might only be a temporary presence in his life. Ethan, sweetheart, she said, holding his small hands in hers, I'll never leave you. We're family, and family doesn't abandon family. Even if my mum comes back someday. Even if your mum comes back, Jennifer assured him. In fact, if she does, we'll be an even bigger family. Ethan smiled in that heart-melting way that always softened Jennifer's heart and went back to focusing on his math exercises. But she noticed he seemed more at ease, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Meanwhile, Jennifer had hired a private investigator recommended by a fellow lawyer. Michael Smith was an experienced man, specializing in locating missing persons. He had begun tracking Melissa's last known movements. Your sister left New York City exactly 6.5 years ago, Michael reported during a meeting in his office. The last record I found was a bus ticket to Portland, but after that, nothing. No formal job, no active bank account, no legal records. How does someone just disappear like that? Jennifer asked, frustrated. It's more common than you think, Michael explained. People who want to start over often use different names, work odd jobs, pay for everything in cash, especially when they're running from something or someone. Melissa wasn't running from anyone, Jennifer said defensively. She was going through a hard time. Sometimes we run from ourselves, Michael observed gently. I'll keep investigating. I have some contacts in Portland who might help. Back at Margaret's house, Jennifer found a scene that worried her. Ethan was sitting on the living room floor beside the armchair where Margaret rested, holding her hand as she struggled to breathe. Aunt Jen, Ethan said, relieved to see her. Grandma isn't feeling well today. Jennifer immediately took control of the situation. She checked Margaret's vitals, assessed her breathing, and made a quick decision. Margaret, we need to take you to the hospital, she said with professional firmness. Ethan, grab your backpack. We'll stay at the hospital until your grandma feels better. I don't want to be a bother, Margaret protested weakly. You're not a bother, Jennifer said, already calling an ambulance. You're family now. At the hospital, Jennifer used her connections to ensure Margaret received the best possible care. The tests confirmed what they already suspected. The illness was progressing faster than expected. Ethan stayed bravely by Margaret's bedside throughout her stay, holding her hand and reading stories to her. Jennifer was struck by the boy's maturity and emotional strength. Aunt Jen, Ethan said one night as Margaret slept, Grandma's going to be okay, right? Jennifer looked into those innocent eyes and felt her heart break. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that the person he loved most in the world was slipping away? Ethan, sometimes people get very sick and medicine can't fix it, she said, choosing her words carefully. But that doesn't mean we stop loving them or taking care of them. Like what happened with Grandpa Thomas? Like what happened with Grandpa Thomas, Jennifer confirmed, hugging the boy. But you're not going to get sick too, right, Aunt Jen? Ethan asked, fear in his voice. I'm not going to get sick, Jennifer assured him. And even if I did, there would always be someone to take care of you. You have a whole family now, remember? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, Margaret was discharged after a week in the hospital, but with a recommendation for home palliative care. Jennifer arranged everything needed, a private nurse, medical equipment, and pain management medication. You don't have to do all this, Margaret said, moved by Jennifer's dedication. You took care of my nephew for 6 years, Jennifer replied. This is the least I can do for you. During this period, Jennifer made an important decision. She talked to Ethan about the possibility of him spending a few days a week at her house to gradually get used to the idea of a bigger change in the future. Do you have a room just for yourself there? Asked Ethan, excited about the prospect. Yes, I do, lied Jennifer, who was already mentally planning to turn her home office into a child's bedroom. Ethan's first night at Jennifer's house was revealing for both of them. The boy was amazed by the size of the house, the number of books in the library, and the view from the balcony. Jennifer, in turn, realized how her home had always felt empty and quiet. Aunt Jen, said Ethan as she helped him bathe, your house is like a castle. You think so? I do, and now it's my castle too. Now it's our castle, Jennifer corrected, smiling. That night, Ethan had nightmares and woke up crying. Jennifer found him trembling in the guest room she had improvised for him. What's wrong, sweetheart? She asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. I dreamed that everyone left, said Ethan between sobs. Grandma Margaret, you, my mom. Everyone was gone, and I was all alone. Jennifer felt her heart tighten. That child had endured so much loss and uncertainty in his short life. Ethan, look at me, she said, cupping his little face in her hands. I promise you I'll never leave. No matter what happens, you'll always have a place with me. Okay? You really promise? I promise. And when we make a promise, we have to keep it, right? Right, agreed Ethan, already calmer. Now let's go back to sleep. Tomorrow's a busy day. Jennifer stayed in the room until Ethan fell asleep again. then spent the rest of the night awake, thinking about how her life had completely changed in just a few weeks. A few days later, Michael called with news about the investigation. "I found something," he said, a hint of excitement in his voice. "Your sister was in a rehab facility in Portland for 2 years. She left 4 months ago." "Rehab?" asked Jennifer, confused. "What kind of rehab?" "Severe depression and substance abuse," explained Michael. "But the news is good. She completed treatment successfully and is living in a recovery home." Jennifer felt a mix of relief and worry. Her sister was alive and recovering, but had gone through even harder times than she'd imagined. "Do you have an address?" "I do. And more than that, I got a contact number. But I should warn you, she might not be ready for a reunion." "I understand," said Jennifer. "But I have to try. For Ethan. And for her too." That night, Jennifer stared at the phone for hours before finding the courage to dial. When she finally made the call, her hands were shaking. "Hello?" answered a woman's voice she recognized immediately, despite the years apart. "Melissa?" Jennifer said, her voice choked. There was a long silence on the other end. "Jennifer?" Melissa's voice sounded shocked and scared. How did you get my number?" "Melissa, we need to talk," Jennifer said, trying to stay calm. "It's about Ethan." "No," Melissa said immediately. I'm not ready to—" "Melissa, please don't hang up," Jennifer pleaded. "Ethan is okay. He's with me now, but he needs you. And you need to know it's okay that no one is judging you." "You don't understand," Melissa said, her voice breaking. "I abandoned my son." "What kind of mother does that?" "A mother who was sick and needed help," Jennifer replied gently. "A mother who was brave enough to leave her son with people who could take better care of him at the time." "Margaret? How is Margaret?" asked Melissa, changing the subject. "She's sick, Melissa, very sick. And Ethan will need us." Another long silence followed. "I can't," Melissa finally said. "I can't be the mother he deserves. You'll take better care of him without me." "That's not true," insisted Jennifer. "Ethan asks about you. He wants to meet his mother." "He probably doesn't even remember me," Melissa said bitterly. "Oh, he remembers. Margaret always spoke of you fondly. Ethan knows you had to travel for work and that one day you'd come back." "My God," Melissa whispered. "She really said that?" "She did. Because she believes in you. Just like I believe in you." "Jennifer, I'm not the same person I was before. I've been through so much. I did terrible things when I was using drugs. That doesn't matter now," Jennifer said. "What matters is that you're recovering and that you have a son who needs to meet his real mother. What if I disappoint him again?" "What if you don't?" Jennifer replied. "Melissa, I'm not asking you to come home tomorrow and take on all the responsibility. I'm asking you not to give up completely. Ethan deserves to have a mother, and you deserve to have your son." The conversation continued for over an hour. Jennifer talked about Ethan, his likes, his talents, his dreams. She spoke about how smart and kind he was, how much he resembled Melissa in so many ways. "He wants to be a doctor," Jennifer shared. "Just like Dad, and just like me." "Just like you?" Melissa asked, a note of pride in her voice. "He calls me Aunt Jen, and says that when he grows up he'll take care of sick people." Is he happy?" Melissa asked hesitantly. "He is, but he'd be happier if he knew his mother." "I need to think," Melissa finally said. "I can't make a decision like this on the spot." "Of course you can think," Jennifer agreed. "But don't think alone. We have a family, Melissa, and family helps each other. Do you forgive me for what I did, for abandoning Ethan and disappearing?" "There's nothing to forgive," Jennifer said sincerely. "You did the best you could at the time, and now we're here to help you do even better." When she hung up the phone, Jennifer felt exhausted but hopeful. She had planted a seed of possibility in Melissa's mind. Now she needed to give it time to grow. The next day, Ethan noticed Jennifer seemed different. "Aunt Jen, are you sad?" he asked as they ate breakfast. "I'm not sad, sweetheart," she said. "I'm just thinking about some important things. About Grandma Margaret. About a lot of things, Ethan. If I told you that maybe you could meet your mother, how would you feel?" Ethan stopped chewing his cereal and stared at her with wide eyes. "My real mother?" he asked. "Your real mother?" "Is she pretty?" Ethan asked with childlike curiosity. "Very pretty, and she looks a lot like you." "And does she like me?" "She loves you so much," Jennifer assured him. "So much that sometimes she's afraid she won't be good enough for you." Ethan thought for a moment, playing with his spoon. "Aunt Jen, if my mom comes back, will you still be my aunt?" "I'll always be your aunt," Jennifer promised. "And I'll always be here when you need me." "Then I want to meet her," Ethan decided, "but only if you stay with me." "I'll stay with you," Jennifer promised, hugging the boy. That afternoon, Jennifer took Ethan to visit Margaret, who was growing weaker by the day. The boy didn't seem to fully grasp the gravity of the situation, but Jennifer noticed how much more tender and protective he was with his grandmother. "Grandma Margaret," said Ethan, carefully sitting on the edge of the bed. "Aunt Jen said maybe I can meet my mom." Margaret looked at Jennifer with surprise and gratitude. "Is it true?" she asked weakly. "I found Melissa," Jennifer confirmed. "She's recovering from some struggles, but she's alive and well." "Thank God," whispered Margaret, closing her eyes in relief. "I was always afraid something terrible had happened to her." "She's scared to see Ethan," Jennifer explained, "afraid she'll disappoint him." "Nonsense," said Margaret, her voice stronger. "Ethan needs to meet his mother, and Melissa needs to know she raised a wonderful son." "Grandma, do you think my mom will like me?" asked Ethan, vulnerability in his voice. "My sweetheart," Margaret said, stroking his hair, "any mother would be proud to have a son like you. You're smart, kind, polite, and have such a big heart. Your mother will fall in love with you at first sight." "Just like Aunt Jen did?" "Just like Aunt Jen did," Margaret confirmed, smiling at Jennifer. That night, Jennifer called Melissa again. "Hi, Melissa. It's me again." "Hi, Jennifer. I haven't stopped thinking about our conversation yesterday." "And what have you decided?" "I'd like to see a picture of him," Melissa said hesitantly. "If you have one." "I have plenty," Jennifer said, already opening her phone. "Should I email them?" "Yes, but Jennifer, if I can't do this, if I'm too much of a coward—" "You're not a coward," Jennifer interrupted. "You're a woman who faced her demons and won. That takes more courage than anything." "I'm so afraid of hurting him," Melissa confessed. "The only way you'd hurt him is by not trying," Jennifer said. "Ethan is stronger than you think, and he wants to meet you." "He said that?" "He did. This morning. He said he wants to meet his real mother." Jennifer sent several photos of Ethan, playing at the park, doing homework, smiling in the kitchen, asleep hugging his teddy bear. She also sent a video where Ethan talked about his dream of becoming a doctor. 20 minutes later, the phone rang. It was Melissa, crying. "He's beautiful," she said between sobs. "My God, he's so beautiful and smart, and he looks happy." "He's all that and more," Jennifer confirmed. "And he has your eyes." "Jennifer, I want to see him, but I don't know if I'm ready to be his mother." "No one's ever really ready to be a mother," Jennifer said gently. "You learn along the way. And this time, you're not alone. You have a whole family here to support you. Promise you'll be there, at the first meeting." "I promise. And Ethan asked me to stay with him too." When can we meet?" "Whenever you're ready. We can take it slow. Maybe somewhere neutral, like a park or a square." "What if he doesn't like me?" "That's impossible," Jennifer said. "Ethan has the same generous heart as the rest of our family. He'll love you just like he always has." I need to prepare, buy decent clothes, get a haircut, sort out some things here in Portland." "How much time do you need?" 2 weeks, Melissa suggested. "Is that too long for Ethan to wait?" "Ethan waited 6 years, Jennifer said, smiling. 2 weeks won't make a difference." "Jennifer?" "Yes?" "Thank you for not giving up on me, for taking care of Ethan, for everything." "We're sisters," Jennifer said simply. "That's what sisters do." Over the next 2 weeks, Jennifer carefully prepared Ethan for the meeting with Melissa. They talked about how people sometimes get nervous when they first meet, how it's normal to have butterflies in your stomach, and how love sometimes needs time to grow. "Aunt Jen," said Ethan one night while Jennifer was helping him brush his teeth, "what if my mom wants to take me away? Why are you worried about that?" "Because I like living with you, and I don't want to leave Grandma Margaret alone." "Ethan, sweetheart," said Jennifer, kneeling to his level, "no one will take you away if you don't want to go. And even if your mom wants to live near you, that doesn't mean you'll lose the people you love. Promise?" "I promise. Your mom doesn't want to separate you from the people who've cared for you all these years either." "What about Grandma Margaret? Will she be alone?" "We'll take care of Grandma Margaret together," Jennifer promised. "You, me, and your mom if she wants to." Margaret was growing weaker, but she insisted on being part of the preparations for the reunion between mother and son. "I want Melissa to know I never held any grudge against her," she told Jennifer. "She did what she could at the time, and she raised a wonderful son, even if she wasn't physically present." "What do you mean?" "The values Ethan has, his kindness, his emotional intelligence, all of that came from her. I just took care of his little body, the soul, the character. That came from Melissa." "You played a crucial part too," said Jennifer. "Ethan is who he is today because you loved him unconditionally." "And now you're doing the same," Margaret observed, "loving him unconditionally. This boy has been lucky to have so many special people caring for him." On the day of the meeting, Jennifer chose a quiet park in the center of New York City. She arrived early with Ethan, who was visibly nervous but excited. "Is she here yet?" Ethan asked, looking around. "Not yet," said Jennifer, "but she'll come. And when she does, remember she's just as nervous as you are." "Why would she be nervous?" "Because she really wants you to like her," Jennifer explained. "Just like you want her to like you." They sat on a bench near the playground watching other children play. Ethan fidgeted, swinging his legs and constantly glancing toward the park entrance. "Aunt Jen, is that her?" he asked, pointing to a blonde woman walking toward them. Jennifer looked and felt her heart race. It was Melissa, but a thinner, more mature version of the sister she knew. She walked slowly, clearly nervous, pausing occasionally as if considering turning back. "That's her," Jennifer confirmed, standing up. "Ready to go?" Ethan nodded, took Jennifer's hand, and they walked toward Melissa. When they met halfway, mother and son stood silently, looking at each other for seconds that felt like forever. "Hi, Ethan," Melissa said, her voice trembling. You've grown so much." "Hi," Ethan replied shyly, still holding Jennifer's hand. "Do you remember me?" Melissa asked, crouching to his level. Ethan studied his mother's face carefully. "A little," he said honestly. "Grandma Margaret has pictures of you in her room." "She does?" Melissa asked, glancing quickly at Jennifer. "Yeah, and she always said you were really pretty." She was right. The simplicity and sincerity of Ethan's words made Melissa cry. She hesitantly reached out toward her son, who looked at Jennifer for reassurance. "You can hug your mom," Jennifer said, smiling. Ethan let go of Jennifer's hand and took Melissa's. The touch seemed to break an invisible barrier between them. "Do you want to sit with us?" Ethan asked, showing impressive emotional maturity. "I'd love to," Melissa said, still crying. They sat on the bench, with Ethan between the two most important women in his life. Jennifer watched as mother and son spoke hesitantly at first, but with growing ease. "Do you like school?" asked Melissa. "I do," said Ethan, perking up. "I want to be a doctor like Grandpa Thomas and Aunt Jen." "Grandpa Thomas?" "Aunt Jen's dad," Ethan explained. "He was my grandpa too. He used to visit me all the time and bring books." Melissa looked at Jennifer with gratitude in her eyes. "What else do you like to do?" "I like reading, playing soccer, and helping Grandma Margaret in the kitchen," Ethan listed. "And now I like staying at Aunt Jen's house too. She has a huge library." "Library?" Melissa asked, smiling for the first time. "Books from the floor to the ceiling," Ethan said, gesturing excitedly. "Aunt Jen said I can read them all when I learn how." The conversation continued for over 2 hours. Ethan showed Melissa how he could play soccer, do math in his head, and write his full name. Melissa, in turn, told stories from her childhood, talked about the places she'd been, and promised to teach Ethan how to draw. "You draw?" Ethan asked, intrigued. "I do. I've always loved it, Melissa said. I can teach you if you'd like. I'd love that, Ethan said eagerly. Aunt Jen can't draw, she only knows how to take care of sick people. Hey, Jennifer protested, pretending to be offended. I know how to do plenty of other things too. Like what? Ethan teased. Like making pancakes for breakfast, Jennifer said. It's true, Ethan agreed, turning to Melissa. Aunt Jen makes the best pancakes in the world. Do you know how to make pancakes too? Not very well, Melissa admitted, but I can learn. Aunt Jen can teach you, Ethan suggested, as if solving a tricky problem. Then you'll both know how to make pancakes. The ease with which Ethan was weaving both women into his life touched Jennifer and Melissa deeply. When they said goodbye after that first meeting, Ethan hugged Melissa without hesitation. Will you come back to see me? He asked. If you'd like me to, Melissa said, her voice thick with emotion. I do. And next time, you can meet Grandma Margaret too. She's always wanted to see you again. Melissa looked at Jennifer over Ethan's head. I'd love to see Margaret again, she said. On the way home, Ethan was especially chatty. Aunt Jen, my mom is really pretty, isn't she? She is, sweetheart. And she seems really nice. Do you think she likes me? I'm sure she loves you very much, Jennifer said. You could see it in the way she looked at you. And do you think she'll want to stay close to us? I don't know, Ethan. That's a decision she'll have to make. But no matter what she decides, you'll always have a family who loves you. I know, Ethan said confidently. I have you, Grandma Margaret, Grandpa Thomas in heaven, and now my mom too. The simplicity with which Ethan embraced his expanded family made Jennifer smile. Children had a special way of accepting love from wherever it came. That night, Melissa called Jennifer. Thank you for today, she said. It was easier than I imagined. Ethan has a way of making people feel at ease, Jennifer said. It's a gift he got from you. He's amazing, Melissa said, pride in her voice. Smart, sweet, polite. You've done an incredible job raising him. We just loved him, Jennifer said. The rest came naturally. Jennifer, I want to be more present in his life. I don't know how yet, but I want to try. What kind of presence are you thinking of? I was thinking, maybe I could move back to New York City, find a job, a place to live. Start slow but be there for him. That would be wonderful, said Jennifer, feeling hope grow in her chest. But are you sure? I don't want Ethan to get too excited if you're still unsure. I'm sure I want to try, said Melissa. And I'm sure I don't want to waste any more time away from my son. What if you need help, finding a job, a place to live? You've already done so much for me, said Melissa. I can't ask for more. You're not asking, said Jennifer. I'm offering. We're family, Melissa, and family helps each other. In the following weeks, Melissa began organizing her move back to New York City. Jennifer helped her find a clinic, hiring nursing technicians and a small apartment just a few streets away from her own home. Ethan was thrilled at the news that his mother would be living close by. Will she be able to take me to school sometimes? He asked. If she wants to, and you do too, said Jennifer. And can she come for Sunday dinners here? Of course she can. And can she come with me to visit Grandma Margaret? Yes, sweetheart. That's great, said Ethan, pleased. Now I'll have two moms looking after me. Two moms? My real mom and you, who's my heart mom, explained Ethan, as if it were obvious. Jennifer felt her eyes fill with tears. In all her adult life, she had never imagined she'd be a mother. But Ethan had awakened a maternal love in her she didn't even know existed. Melissa's move to New York City was gradual but steady. She visited Ethan several times a week, always with Jennifer present at first, but gradually reclaiming her independence as a mother. The first big test came when Ethan asked if he could spend an entire weekend at Melissa's place. Are you sure you want to? Asked Jennifer, trying to hide her own anxiety. Yes, said Ethan. My mum said she can teach me how to draw those pictures she used to make when she was little. What if you miss home? Can I call you? Asked Ethan. Hey, you can call as much as you want, Jennifer assured him. The weekend was a success. Melissa called several times with updates, and Ethan called once to say he'd learned how to draw a car. Aunt Jen, my mum is really good at drawing, he said excitedly, and she made pancakes just like you taught her. That's wonderful, sweetheart. Are you having fun? Yes, but I miss you and Grandma Margaret. We miss you too, but you'll be home tomorrow. Aunt Jen? Yes? Can I have two homes? Yours and my mum's? Of course you can, sweetheart. You can have as many homes as you want, as long as there's love in them. During these months of adjustment, Margaret gradually grew weaker, but she was visibly happy to have seen the family reunited. Now I can go in peace, she told Jennifer during a home medical visit. Ethan is surrounded by love. Melissa found her way back, and you discovered you have a mother's heart. Don't talk like that, said Jennifer, checking Margaret's medications. You'll still see Ethan become a doctor. Maybe, maybe not, said Margaret philosophically. But I've seen what I needed to see. That boy will have a life full of love and opportunity. You made that possible, said Jennifer. Without you, Ethan never would have survived those early years, and Melissa never would have had the chance to recover. I just did what any decent person would do, said Margaret. I took care of a child who needed care. You did so much more than that. You saved an entire family. A few weeks later, Margaret was hospitalized again. This time, the doctors were clear about the prognosis. It was only a matter of days. Ethan, Jennifer, and Melissa took turns at the hospital, making sure Margaret was never alone. The boy, though only 6 years old, seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. Grandma Margaret, he said, holding her hand during one visit, thank you for taking care of me when I was little. Thank you for making my life brighter, my angel, Margaret replied, struggling to speak. You won't forget me when you go to heaven, right? I'll never forget you, Margaret promised. And you won't forget me either. Never, Ethan vowed. And I'll visit your grave like I used to visit Grandpa Thomas's. Will you bring flowers? I'll bring the most beautiful flowers in the world, Ethan assured her. Margaret passed away on a quiet September morning, with Jennifer, Melissa, and Ethan by her side. Her last words were of gratitude for the chance to care for Ethan and to see the family reunited. The funeral was small but touching. Ethan insisted on making a drawing to place with the flowers on the casket. It was a simple sketch of a family, a grandmother, an aunt, a mother, and a boy, all holding hands. This is our family, he explained to the pastor conducting the ceremony. Grandma Margaret is in the middle because she took care of all of us. After the service, they went to the cemetery where it had all begun. Ethan placed flowers on Margaret's grave, just a few feet from his grandfather Thomas's. Now they're close, Ethan observed. Grandpa Thomas can take care of Grandma Margaret in heaven. That's a lovely thought, Melissa said, hugging her son. Aunt Jen, Ethan asked, do you think they know we're all together now? I'm sure they do, Jennifer replied, and I'm sure they're very happy. On the way home, Ethan asked a question that caught both women by surprise. Now that Grandma Margaret is in heaven, will you two take care of me together forever? Jennifer and Melissa exchanged glances over Ethan's head. What do you think, Mom? Jennifer asked Melissa, deliberately using the word Mom. I think it's a wonderful idea, Melissa said, smiling. If his heart mom agrees, Jennifer said. Then it's settled, Ethan declared, satisfied. We'll be a whole family. And so it was. In the months that followed, Melissa and Jennifer developed a routine of shared care for Ethan. Melissa moved to a larger apartment, where Ethan had his own room, but he still spent several nights a week at Jennifer's. The division of responsibilities came naturally. Melissa took charge of the creative and playful aspects of Ethan's upbringing, while Jennifer handled medical and formal educational matters. Both were involved in all major decisions about the boy's future. Ethan flourished in this environment of multiplied love. His school grades improved even further, he made new friends, and he developed new interests. He started playing guitar with Melissa and helping Jennifer with small, age-appropriate medical research projects. Aunt Jen, Ethan said one evening as they worked on homework together, do you think Grandpa Thomas planned all this? How so? He left that little plaque on the grave for Grandma Margaret to find. He talked about you to me before he passed. He knew my mum was sick but would get better someday. Do you think he knew we'd become a family? Jennifer pondered Ethan's question. There was something almost magical in how events had unfolded. as if everything had been carefully orchestrated. "You know what?" she said. "I think he did. Your grandfather was a very wise man, and wise people sometimes see things the rest of us don't. Like how he knew you'd be a great mum, even though you didn't have kids before." "Just like he saw that," agreed Jennifer, moved. "And just like he saw that my mum would get better and come back to take care of me." "Exactly." "Then he must have seen that we were going to be really happy together," concluded Ethan. "With the simple logic of a child. He must have seen it, yes," said Jennifer, hugging the boy. 2 years after their first meeting at the cemetery, the family's life had completely stabilized. Melissa had been promoted at work and was considering going back to school to become a registered nurse. Jennifer had opened a private practice and was also seeing some underprivileged patients for free, inspired by her father's example. Ethan, now 8 years old, was in 3rd grade at an excellent private school. He still expressed his desire to become a doctor, but he had also developed an interest in art, influenced by Melissa's teachings. "Can I be a doctor and an artist at the same time?" he asked one day. "Of course you can," said Jennifer. "You can be anything you want as long as you work hard for it." "And can I have 2 moms at the same time?" "You can have 2 moms, 2 grandmas, 2 grandpas, as many people as you want in your family," said Melissa. "Family isn't about blood, it's about love." "Then our family is perfect," declared Ethan, "because there's lots of love." On a Sunday afternoon, exactly 3 years after their first meeting at the cemetery, Jennifer, Melissa, and Ethan returned to the graves of Thomas and Margaret. It was a tradition they had established, visiting the graves on the anniversary of the day they met. Ethan had grown a lot, but he kept the habit of bringing flowers to both graves. This time, he had insisted on buying the flowers with his own allowance money. "Hi, Grandpa Thomas," he said, placing white lilies on the grave. "I brought the whole family so you can really meet them. Now there's 3 of us, me, Aunt Jen, and my mom." "Hi, Grandma Margaret," he said, moving to the grave beside it. "Thank you for taking care of me and for waiting until my mom got better. Now she's well and draws with me every day." The 2 women watched silently as Ethan spoke naturally to the people who had passed. There was something deeply touching about how he kept their memory alive. "You know," Ethan said, turning back to his grandfather's grave, "I think we did what you wanted. Now we're a real family and everyone's happy." "I think so too," agreed Jennifer, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "And you know what else?" Ethan continued. "Aunt Jen said when I grow up, I can work at her clinic during breaks, to learn how to be a doctor like you were. And I said I can teach him how to paint big pictures," added Melissa, "so he can decorate the clinic." "So he'll be a doctor and an artist," said Ethan, pleased with the plan. "And he'll take care of sick people and make them smile with pretty drawings." As they prepared to leave, Ethan turned to the graves one last time. "See you next visit," he said, "and thank you for making everything work out." On the way home, Melissa remarked, "Sometimes I feel like it was all really planned. There were too many coincidences for it to just be luck." "They weren't coincidences," said Jennifer. "It was love. Love that my father planted, that Margaret nurtured, that you carried even when you were far away, and that Ethan spread to all of us." "And love that you multiplied," added Melissa. "You could have just helped financially and kept your distance, but you chose to open your heart and your life to us." "It wasn't a choice," said Jennifer, looking at Ethan in the back seat, absorbed in a book. "It was inevitable. From the moment I saw him crying at the cemetery, I knew my life had changed forever." "Aunt Jen," said Ethan, looking up from his book, "are you happy you found me?" "Very happy," said Jennifer. "It's the best thing that ever happened to me." "And you, Mom?" Ethan asked Melissa. "Are you happy you came back?" "Beyond happy," said Melissa. "I came home and found not only my son, but also a sister who forgave me for everything and helped me start over." "That's good," said Ethan, returning to his book, "because I'm really happy too, and I think we're going to be happy forever." The simplicity and certainty with which Ethan spoke made the 2 women smile. Children had that ability to see the world in a simpler, more optimistic way. And Ethan was right. In the years that followed, the family continued to grow in love and unity. Jennifer never married, but she found in motherhood shared with Melissa a fulfillment she never knew she was searching for. Melissa became an exceptional nurse and eventually found a partner who loved Ethan as his own. Ethan grew up surrounded by love, opportunities, and examples of people who had overcome hardships through love and determination. At 18, when he entered medical school, he knew exactly what kind of doctor he wanted to be, one who cared not just for patients' bodies, but for their families and their hearts. At Ethan's graduation, Jennifer and Melissa sat side by side in the front row of the auditorium, tears of pride in their eyes as the young man received his bachelor's degree in medicine. "Dr. Thomas Wilson and Margaret Parker are watching this from heaven," whispered Melissa to Jennifer. "They definitely are," Jennifer agreed. "And they're proud to see that the love they planted blossomed into such a special family." When Ethan took the stage to deliver the class speech, his first words were, "I dedicate this diploma to my family, my mother Melissa, who taught me it's never too late to start over, my aunt Jennifer, who taught me that family is about love, not blood, my grandpa Thomas, who taught me that being a doctor means being an instrument of healing, and my grandma Margaret, who taught me that caring for others is the greatest form of love." The entire auditorium rose in applause, but no one clapped louder than Jennifer and Melissa, who knew that moment had been built through years of love, forgiveness, and dedication. That evening, the three went to dinner at a special restaurant to celebrate. Ethan, now a young man of 22, still carried the same sensitivity and emotional intelligence he had shown since childhood. "You know," he said, raising a glass of juice for a toast, "it all started with a meeting at the cemetery and a crying boy." "We know," Jennifer said, moved. "And it turned into the most perfect family anyone could wish for." "The most perfect," Melissa agreed. "Then let's toast," said Ethan, "to the encounters that change our lives, to the love that heals all wounds, and to the families we choose with our hearts." "Cheers," the three voices said in unison. And so, a story that began with the tears of a lonely boy in a cemetery ended with the joyful tears of a family that had learned true love always finds a way to bring together the people who belong together. Happy endings don't always happen like in fairy tales, but sometimes real life gives us stories even more beautiful than fiction. The story of Ethan, Jennifer, Melissa, Thomas, and Margaret was one of those stories, a reminder that love, when true and unconditional, has the power to heal any wound and unite any family. The end. And you, dear listener, what did you think of this family love story? Do you believe destiny brought these people together, or was it just a series of coincidences? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know if you've experienced or heard a similar story. If this narrative touched your heart, don't forget to leave a like so we can keep bringing you heartwarming stories like this one. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other stories that could brighten your day and warm your heart.